Good evening, everybody. Call to order the meeting of the June 8th meeting of the Carlisle Select Board. Let me introduce the members. I'm Alan Lewis. I'm the chair. Barney Arnold is the vice chair. I'm going to get rid of my thing that's blocking David. There was a banner in front of your face, David.
Probably improved things.
I would say maybe I'll put it back. No. David Modell, who is the clerk, Kate Reed, member, and Luke Ascalillo, member. So thank you all for being here this evening. Welcome to the guests who are here tonight. And let me first ask if there is any community. Well, let me read the agenda first. At 7 o'clock, we have community input. 7:05, the LEPC update, and I'll be giving that tonight. Chief Fisher had an emergency that he needs to attend to this evening. 7:30, a presentation of the Carlisle One networking project. That'll be a PowerPoint presentation. 8 o'clock, the fiscal 22 annual appointments, appointed officials and committee members. 8:30, appointments and resignations. 8:35, cemetery deeds. 8:40, the town administrator's report. 8:50, liaison reports. 8:55, approval of the minutes and warrants. And 9 o'clock, adjournment, which will be a new record, I think, for this year. So let me first ask, is there any community input this evening? Hearing none. We will move to the LEPC update. Chief Fisher was on a few minutes ago, but he asked if I would give the report tonight because he had something that he had to be doing. He has all kinds of ancillary duties and maybe even town duties that he has to address this evening. But the LEPC, instead of meeting weekly, as we have been doing since the onset of the COVID state of emergency, now is meeting just on days when the select board meets, usually the first Monday of that month. And the nice part about that is things are indeed getting back to normal. And we had, I think, probably the shortest LEPC meeting we have had since the beginning of the pandemic, which is a very, very positive sign. And there really isn't much to report. The main thing we talked about was the reimbursements coming from the federal government, and we're still waiting for guidance on that. As you may recall, we are going to appoint a oversight committee to help guide where that money gets appropriated. That has not yet occurred, but should happen in the next couple of weeks or so. And we still are lacking very specific guidance from the federal government. We are continuing to deal with reimbursements from the original CARES reimbursement. And I guess we got some additional funds from that. Is that right, Tim?
That's right. Bill and Priscilla are working on that. Right. Part of the process is that they require you to submit certain expenses to FEMA for reimbursement, knowing full well that FEMA is going to turn it down, and then you're invited to reapply to the CARES program. So it's a bit of a merry-go-round, but Bill and Priscilla have it down by now, but it's going slowly but surely.
Yeah, well, nothing is easy these days, it seems, but especially when there's federal funds involved. But thank you. Yeah, other than that, the neighborhood group is still delivering some meals. The Council on Aging is moving, has had several events. They are continuing to hold them and go to the COA website to look for where those events are occurring. And other than that, there really wasn't a lot to say. We're just going on looking for planning. One of the things that's going to happen over the next month or so is deciding how and where that structure is going to go that we bought some time ago. And there's no hurry on that, I understand, but that was something we will need to deal with, and probably boxing up some of it and maybe leaving some of it standing at some place in town, maybe the firehouse or somewhere like that, that can use the extra space and shelter. But other than that, there really wasn't a lot. Kate, you were there. Barney, you were there. Anything you wish to add to the LEPC report?
I maybe just that Jim O'Shea reported for the school that you know, they're expecting a regular startup in September, and they're you know, they're in the last week and a half of school, and that they're continuing to outside masks are optional, and inside they're still required.
Thank you. Yep. Kate, anything from you?
No, but I did want to again recognize the fire department and as the LEPC did, that we think that the fact that the fire department did some testing in town may have very well contributed to our success, and that we really, you know, appreciate.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think that's especially important when we look at the ability of the school to remain in person during the entire time. Much of that was facilitated by the availability of the testing that the fire department provided for us. And so we are greatly indebted to Brian and his folks for providing that service. It was extremely helpful and a great benefit to the town. I know a lot of townspeople felt assured that they could get taken care of when the time came, and that was very, very important. Beyond that, I think I have nothing further. Now, I don't see RJ on here yet for the Carlisle 1 presentation. It's scheduled for 7:30. I hadn't really expected to do the LEPC report, so I didn't have anything prepared for that. But frankly, there wasn't a lot going on at that meeting anyway. It was a fairly brief meeting. But we will continue to meet. Should something happen that requires additional planning, we will be prepared to do that. And by the way, and I should acknowledge the tremendous effort that has been put in by the people who have been meeting weekly since March of 2020 on that LEPC initiative. One of the reasons Carlisle has done so well is because of the immense amount of planning that was done, the leadership that was exercised by Chief Fisher and Chief Soros, just outstanding. And I also want to acknowledge Tim's contribution to that. It was very, very important, and to keep the town on an upright basis. We really came out of this smelling like a rose, and it's due to in no small part to the efforts made from the people on the LEPC, some of whom are regular members, but many of whom were new volunteers who pitched in a huge amount of time. And we thank you very, very much. And we'll find some way to acknowledge that perhaps better as we wind this whole episode down. So thank you.
Maybe we could skip over to some other.
Yeah, let's go to, let's do cemetery deeds. That's always a good one.
Cemetery deeds.
Number 6.
All right, I move the select board vote to transfer land to the public burial ground to Kenneth Kelly, whose wife lives on Concord Street and whose daughter lives on Russell Street at Green Cemetery, lot D198, graves 1 and 2.
Second.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote.
Arnold, I.
Swallow aye.
Lewis, I.
L.I.
Reed, aye.
Thank you. Motion
Okay,
passes.
I moved that the select board vote to transfer land in the public burial ground to Barbara Mayer at 163 East Riding Street at Green Cemetery, lot D110, graves 1 and 2.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote.
Arnold, I.
Swallow aye.
Lewis, I.
Modell aye.
Reed, aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
move that the select board vote to accept the return of 5 grave sites in Green Cemetery, lot C11, graves 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and to further approve the request to be reimbursed the purchase amount of $500 to Mary T. Global.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote.
Arnold, I.
Oskalilowai?
Louis, I.
Modell, I.
Reed, aye.
Thank you very much. Motion passes. It's always nice to see that people are not expecting to die. They're returning their grave sites. All righty. See, RJ still is not on here.
About minutes.
Let's do minutes. Good one. Good one.
So I move to approve the meeting minutes of May 11th, 2021 as edited. I sent Jen a bunch of edits, which were none of which changed the meaning of the minutes.
Good. Any other? Well, okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, now we can say any additions or corrections other than Kate's. Hearing none, roll call vote.
Arnold, I.
Oskalilowai?
Louis, I.
Modell, I.
Reed, aye.
Thank you very much. Motion passes.
Oh, we're gonna go home at 8:30 tonight. Keep it up.
I hope RJ shows up.
I've been busy.
Otherwise we are going home
Do you
at
want
8:30.
to do the appointments?
Let's do the
Yeah.
appointments. Number 5.
8:30, number 5, resignations and appointments. I move to accept the resignation of Douglas Stevenson, serving on the Celebrations Committee, effective immediately.
Second.
We have a motion
Although
and a
with
second.
regret.
Yes. Yeah. He served, I think, 33 years on that
Wow.
commission.
Well,
He was only 8 when he started, though.
Apparently, yeah. Okay, roll call vote.
Arnold, I.
Oskalilowai?
Louis, I.
With regret, Modell, I.
and Reed, aye. Also with regret.
Yes.
I move to appoint Greg Fairbank at 102 Captain Wilson Lane and Christopher Eisenbees at 420 Heald Road to serve on the Carlisle Celebration Committee with terms that will expire on June 30th, 2022.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? We do have letters of interest from both of those. Roll call vote.
Arnold, I.
Oskalilowai?
Louis, I.
Modell, I.
Reed, aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. I think we have some additions as well.
The annual,
I'd like a motion to reappoint Lynn Lipinski and James Carpaccio to the Finance Committee.
what? So moved. A second.
Okay.
Already moved it and I'll second it.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote.
Arnold, I.
Oskalilowai?
Louis, I.
Modell, I.
Reed, aye.
Thank you. That was something that we missed before and we needed to get caught up on. We also have a resignation from Angie Verge from the Conservation Commission.
Yeah, that's also very regretful.
Yeah. Do I have a motion?
Move to accept the resignation of Angie Verge from the Conservation Commission.
Second.
Okay. Thank you. We have a motion and a second to accept with regret the resignation of Angie Verge from the Conservation Commission. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote.
Arnold, I.
Oskalilowai?
Louis, I.
With regret, Modell, I.
Reed, aye.
Thank you very much. Motion passes. And we have a appointment to the Conservation Commission, Nick Ognebeni. I have a motion to appoint.
So moved.
With it for a term to it was one for the balance of Mrs. Verge's
Angie's
Yeah,
Angie's, thing in
2022.
2022. Okay.
2022.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Arnold, I.
Oskalilowit, aye.
Louis, I.
Modell, aye.
Reed, aye.
Thank you very much. Motion passes. And I see RJ is with us. RJ, are you ready to go? You're muted.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Excellent. Is it my turn?
It's your turn.
Your turn, buddy.
Oh my God, it's a privilege. Okay.
You look different on TV.
Do I?
You do.
You look thinner.
Hey, Tim, are you going to give me the share capability?
You should be able to share directly now.
Okay, thank
RJ,
you.
why don't you give it a try? Yep.
Okay, I'm going to give it a try. You see it, all of you?
You see it? Yep.
Okay. First of all, thank you, Al, and thank you, members of the Select Board. Thank you, Tim, for allowing us this time to present to you the work we've done on Carlisle 1. The first thing I want to do is to communicate to you what I would like to share with you during this presentation. Number one, I would like to share with you what the small team has accomplished in building out Carlisle 1, our townwide network. At the end of the day, this has been a team effort and something we can be all proud of. We are excited in the team, and I think the feedback that I've got from all of you sort of at least implies to me that there seems to be some excitement about what is now a part of the town's assets. I want to then sort of also talk about what Carlisle 1 is, to some extent about its capabilities, a little more than I have done in my emails, and the future potential. How this asset will serve our town, not for 1 year, not for 2 years, maybe 10 years, maybe 20 years, and even beyond that. Now, this has been a journey, and there have been bumps on the road. Let's be clear about that. But I am not here to look back. I'm here to look forward and to share with you what I see to be a bright future in terms of what has been put in place. I made some observations during this journey that go to technology and go beyond technology. And I would like to share this with you. But my comments will be 100% organizational. It will not be about people. I want to repeat that 100% organization, not about people. I want to share with you my thoughts and lay out things that I've seen so that we can discuss it, we can have dialogue, and think about the things I share with you in a way that sees how can we bring it all together, just like Carlisle is one. How can the things I've observed help us to make things somewhat better? So I believe that the time I have with you is to provide value. It's not just to come here and sort of flip a few pretty slides and go away. So I hope that the thoughts I share with you will help you to think about what should be the mission for this town, what should be its vision, mission, and the future direction, given that the world around us is changing. So that is my thought process, if I focus mentally as I come to present to you. I would be remiss if I didn't thank some people. First and foremost, Scott Hefner has been by my side this whole journey. Tremendous person, just a wonderful asset in terms of his knowledge about technology, not a political bone in his body, always doing the right thing and always being there. Without him, I could not have done this. I want to thank David Mackay, who was with us in the initial part of this project when we were focused on building a townwide phone network. David did a lot of work with respect to interviewing a whole number of people, maybe 14 in-depth interviews. I reached out to other towns like Newton, and the chief information officer there was a wonderful gentleman who not only shared his knowledge about what they had done, but also made connections for me to vendors who were trusted and proper. And some of these people worked with us through the whole project all the way up to getting the network running. And in this sense, I want to share my own thought with you that some of these people who come to us as quote unquote consultants don't necessarily always have the best interests of the town in mind. And we've seen examples of this recently. Bill Risso when we decided to flip from the phone to the network, Bill Rizzo joined us. And I found something very interesting. Bill was able to walk in any building, talk to anybody, and get things done. He was a tremendous ambassador. And he was trusted by almost, and he is trusted by almost anybody in this town. And trust is a key asset of any organization. I've been recently referred to a book with the title, The Power of Trust. We must build trust in our town. I must definitely highlight the support that I got from Kate. Kate, thank you. Don't look so serious. I really mean it. Okay. You were there all along with Jim O'Shea, who gave me the time with Scott to get this thing done. So, Jim, thank you for that. And also the volunteers who came before us, who have given up their time to build things and put things in place so that we could do the things that we are able to do. Yes, things that were done 5 years ago, 10 years ago may not be right today, but that doesn't mean they had the best of intentions to do that stuff. And because of that, we were able to leverage that to do some things pretty quickly. So that's my preamble, and just to set the tone for the meeting. And I would appreciate if there are any questions that you hold them to the end, because I have quite a bit to cover and I want to go fast, but not too fast. So I want to focus on the initial discussions we had about what I was going to do and how we did a pivot. Then I want to focus about the fact that we had to pivot from doing the phone system to the network, because there was no real network. So it's like trying to build a house where pieces of the foundation are all over the place and say, put the structure on top of that. There was no way we could do that. So we had to build the fiber optic network, and that's what we chose to do. I then want to talk about what we have done, give you some idea of it in my own words, and I've tried to simplify things. I've taken editorial liberties to somehow dumb down things so that we can all have a common understanding quickly in the time I have. But more importantly, I want to point out to all of you what we have really built. It's one thing to look at something and say that's X. It's another thing to say, this is what X really means, and this is what its implications are. So I want to talk a little bit about how Carlisle One is the foundation for a digital infrastructure that will take us into the world, into the next 10, 20, maybe 30 years. And then I want to share my own thoughts about the digital information systems organization, or whatever entity that you guys choose to make. I don't care, but I think in the way that I present the information, I'll be able to sort of highlight some aspects of what needs to be done. And I think the town needs to come together in one mind, not different minds, and put together something that makes sense for the town and its residents. And I believe that we are going through a major change process. I'll at least share one last slide which talks to that. But during this process of change, we need something, some entity that protects the digital assets of this town as we evolve from our current structure to the future structures. You know, I just read something about Jeff Bezos. He said, people who are right a lot change their minds a lot. And I must say the last two topics, since I wrote them, my mind has kind of changed. And maybe that's a good thing, but I'll share that with you as well. This is the team I mentioned, David in the first phase, and then Bill in the second phase. The initial project focus was, as I told you, to do the town-wide phone system. When I talked to Nathan and Tim, they said, Ajay, go build this or design this thing, this town-wide phone system. So we quickly got to work, did the right thing, went to all the people in the town, got all their comments from Chief Fisher to the library, to the fire, to the town. We talked to all of them and we summarized. At the same time, I was going out to talk to people like the towns in Massachusetts, Newton in particular, but also other towns like Melrose, which is a good model for us. And in the meanwhile, Scott was researching the technologies. And the good thing is, when I took over the project, I told Tim and I told Nathan, hey, if you want me on this, I'm going to run this like a startup. If you don't want that, don't hire me. And that's exactly what I did. I drove hard. It was not easy, but I think the results speak for themselves. And we kept away from consultants because I believe that this town has sufficient skill sets that we should have a repository of skill sets where we call up people when we have a need to at least spend a little time to vet and to make sure that some of these consultants, what the information they give us is meaningful. Anyway, bottom line, we recognize that there was no interconnected network, but without that, and without that, we couldn't do anything. But there was a lot of cable in town, enormous amount of cable. Okay, but there was no real architectural design. It was laid there. People had some intention, and some people might argue with this that it served a purpose. It had a focus. It was done. But this is another thing I want to highlight. For us to have a meaningful digital approach, we need something that is continuous, that is holistic, that is integrated. And we can't do things in fits and starts. But anyway, we had all this cable, and we could take advantage of that. When I looked further, I saw something different. There were two disconnected fiber runs. There was one fiber run for the municipal and another fiber run for public safety. Not sure why we didn't have one fiber run across town. But the good news again is that we've taken advantage of that, and it has helped us now. This is what I call the state of affairs. And these are not physical observations that I make. To me, these reflect organizational issues. The first one on the left. Okay, I'll give you, and trust me, these are just my thoughts, and people can have different points of view. That's fine. I see a two-phase or two entity dynamic here. There's a department, and the department wants something that it needs, and it looks around and tries to ask the center, which happens to be all the committees that are in the town hall, about what the plans are. And maybe there's no plan. We can't wait anymore. We're going to do it on our own. So they put something in, it works. And then the mainline activities of the department, maybe it's a fire department, they have to do all the things for fire, make sure that they are in line with the regulations for the state. And as long as IT stuff works, that's fine. We won't, do no harm kind of thing. And we get something like this because it's not enough to just install. It needs maintenance. It needs the sustenance and scalability, sustenance to keep this in the proper shape for a town-wide perspective to be holistic and proper. The picture on the right is another example of things that we need to think about. Here is a good switch that was put in place quite a couple of years ago. Why didn't people take the next step? Why? Because there was no strategy to take it to the next step. There was no view of a roadmap for where we should as a town go as the digital. Maybe it was not important. And it's true that digital has crept up on us like a little bit of a Trojan horse. We had the silos in our town, the departments, which grew up out of the legacy where it was perfectly fine to have silos in the past, 100 years ago. And then somehow this IBM mainframe came in, and then PCs came in, and somebody wanted to do Excel on a desktop, and so they got a desktop PC. Somebody else wanted to do Word somewhere else, they got something else. And so digital, in a sense, crept up on us. But it has come to the forefront with this unfortunate opportunity that we've had with COVID. It's made it very clear to us that we don't live in a bubble in Carlisle. We live in a connected world of which Carlisle is a part. And my point here is this shows that we don't have a cohesive roadmap or perspective on how we want to move forward digitally. And this reflects not just on the digital side, but in many other aspects. But I'll just keep going. If you would allow me to humor myself a little, I call this the tomb of the unknown computer. Wherever we go, we see these computer things sitting around. It was used by somebody at some time. Nobody knows what's going on. It's sitting there right now. And even as we worked on Carlisle 1, we were very, very cautious of touching these things because God knows where that thing goes and what it does. Wouldn't it be nice to have some entity that was responsible for everything? The inventory, the auditing. And here's an opportunity for facilities. The mentality that we have about digital in this town is very interesting. It places digital assets in the basement of cleaning rooms next to cleaning supplies. What does it tell us? We got to change. This is some more. I must say, this is within me, so I got to let it out and maybe I get banged for it. But On the left, I call that the spaghetti factory, the Prince Spaghetti Factory in Lowell. Okay, it's oozing with wires, and I don't know. For some people, that's okay. And the one on the right is in the town hall. I call it the Guardian Knot, and that's the one that really got me going. For some people, it's okay. It's not okay for me as a steward of the town that I live in. There are certain specifications, certain principles, certain things that need to be done, whether it's a facilities thing, whether it's a joint thing between facilities and the department that is focused on these IT assets. We need to do things differently. So this is what got me going, got us going to really say we need to change things and get this thing going. As you notice here, there are no lights on this thing. There are lots of wires, but no lights. I just want to digress for a moment. I'm not going to sort of give a lecture on fiber optic cable, but look at this gray. That's the cable. Inside any cable, you'll find these little tubes, which are really called tubes. As you can see it here, the cable is here, the tube is here, and inside this is this thing called a strand. Inside this cable, there are 96 strands. One strand in this cable can carry 10 gigabytes per second of data. That is maybe 3 to 4 times what all of the town needs. But we have 96 strands running across the town. We got a lot of data bandwidth. Now, the only thing I do want to share here is, because they are important for the next few slides that I'm going to talk about, is that look at the cable here. Let's say it's gray, it might be blue, it might be black. And within that, there's a strand, say let's say yellow strand, okay? And I'm going to use this as we go forward in our discussion. One more thing that is required to put this network layer together is the switch. So what happens is the cable runs from, say, the town IT in the school down to the town hall. And then a strand is pulled out and it's stuck into this little thing here called an SFP. That's technical, but not necessary. As soon as it's stuck in there, if there's lighting on the town IT unit in the school, this thing gets lit up. And from here, all these things can be Ethernet cables that run into the building in different locations. And this might be an Ethernet cable for a desktop running data. Right next to it is sitting a cable that's coming from a phone. And if that phone is running VoIP, which is voice over IP protocol, guess what? That data can also run on this, go through this and run on the same cable. And then you might have a video streaming service sitting on this. So all this data is harmoniously projected and transmitted between all the locations using one protocol, uniform, which is the power of the internet. So I just want you to remember color of the cable, color of the strand. So this picture actually, I must thank Tim for giving me $200 to get this slide done. Okay, it was not easy. But I just want to show you, this is what we were given when we started this project. You see the hub here, and if you look at this, here's a blue cable, the outer thing that I showed you, and I've chosen to highlight one strand, a yellow strand. What we saw was, okay, we got blue cable, that's the municipal cable network that was in place. At the library, it came close to the library, but there was no switch. And I said, you got to connect it to the switch to make it work with everything else in the library. No switch. In the school, the cable came up, it connected to the switch, but then it didn't connect to the rest of the school. And by the way, we just also noticed that the school had got some of its own voice over IP phone system here. And it had all the resources which are running sort of independent of the connection to the town. Fire department connected, switch is there, but no real use of it because no directive from either side. No directive on a town-wide basis, I mean. And the town hall, yeah, things were put together, but maybe could be done better so that it could be maintained more easily. The police department was a much more interesting situation. In the police department, what you see is this blue cable run here. They had a black cable run. Guess what this is? This is the public safety cable run. And they specifically put it in place because of the public safety requirements for radio. And it works well. You see this black cable and there's a red strand. The red strand connects to 3 towers and connects to the police station, and they've got all the equipment to do 911 or whatever. But if in the situation it was, how was the police department going to connect into an integrated town setup. The cable came up to here, the strand came up to here, and it stopped there. So we had to do some things. The first thing we did was we extended this yellow strand into all the buildings. I'm making this very simple. It's not technically 100% accurate. Okay. Then we got that done. And then we said, let's put a box there, a switch there. And by the way, while we were doing this, I was focused on this. And when Bill came, and I said, we can't do this going to wastewater. I remember having the discussion with Kate. Oh, that's a mile away, and it's going to cost a lot of money. And Kate said, yeah, we got to do that, but I didn't know how to do it. So Bill came along and said, Archie, there's cable sitting in the wastewater treatment plant. It may not be part of this municipal network, but it's part of the police. So I said, okay, Bill, tell me what to do. And the diplomat that he is, he went off and talked to Chief Fisher. As a good discussion, and Chief Fisher was benevolent enough to say, okay, I'll give you some strands that you can use from my fiber run to connect to these guys because we're already there. Okay, so then we said, okay, let's put a switch there. Let's put a switch here. Okay, and now we've taken another step forward. But still, the connection between the public safety and the municipal network was not there. So we couldn't, the yellow strand was not extending up to here or here. So what did we do? We did a little technical magic. We made some stuff happen here, and we took the yellow strand, and this is, and extended the yellow strand from the public safety to the wastewater treatment plant and to the DPW. And voila, guess what we have? We have yellow strands running all across town. And if now we want to host if you want to host a town-wide phone system, very much easier. We just put it on a server here, and guess what? The lights are on, and it's available all across town. If we want to have a financial system that gives us an integrated view of our finances, we put it on the server, boom, it's available here. Now, some people might argue that, hey, everything is going to the cloud. I'm not arguing that. That's not the case. That's a discussion, and I'll be glad to share what I understand about digital architectures, how this all plays harmoniously. But my point right now is, instead of having one phone system here, one phone system here, we can just put it on a server and we can have it all across town. That's the wonderful thing about Carlisle Network, Carlisle One. Okay. And so, importantly, you see that we had cable here and we had cable here, and there was sort of, at least as far as I could understand, this is municipal fiber, this is public safety fiber. I think that's the wrong way to think about it. This is our fiber in town. We have at least 96 strands here, which we could never completely use. We have another 96 strands here, which we could never completely use. Think about it differently. This is our fiber, and we have 96 strands that belongs to all of us. If the town wants a strand of fiber to run to these locations, we can go to Chief Fisher or to the entity that is in charge of information systems and say, we'd like to extend to that using one of your strands, which is what we did, and which Chief Fisher was very good to give us that ability to use his, what at least now is called the public safety run. And likewise, if Chief Fisher wants, or if the fire department wants to run something such that they use municipal, they can just come and take a fiber strand from us. So the way we think about things cannot be and should not be in silos, but collectively what we have. I think that's a very quick summary of what we have done, but I want to go on to show you. Here is this gentleman. He is working on undoing the Gordian knot and setting it up properly. You can see the lights are on, things are connected, things are beginning to work. This is the Gordian knot, which is now not a Gordian knot. Okay, it's like this. But you can see that there are things sitting here. Our focus, we knew we couldn't go and touch all this and then mess up something that somebody was using at some point or not using. And this is a good way by which the information technology entity and something like facilities can work together. And while I'm on this, I would say, I strongly feel that whatever we are going to do in information technology needs to have the mental priority in the town and it needs to have the skill set for people who are wedded and expert in the area of digital. Here's another one. Here you see, again, this has been converted to this, and much of this is put together in a way that we know what is going where. But if you look at this here, you still see some of this stuff sitting here, and some of this may be from a loan that allowed us to put something in. The Merrimack Valley Library Consortium gave us money, and the library did it because they took advantage of that. But now we are not very sure what all this stuff is. And look at this. This is the DPW. This is the wastewater treatment plant. These are my ideal examples. Look how clean it is, neat it is, because there was nothing done before we could do it clean this time. And this is my perfect example. I'm sorry. Let me see if I can do that. Yeah, going back here, this is how it should be. I'm sure if we had the right focus with IT and facilities and all working together, this is what everything should look like. And it's an ideal that we should aspire for, but we got to be realistic. It's a journey to get there. Okay. I will go through this very quickly. High-speed interconnected. Departments can do their thing and the town can do their thing. If it's generic, the principle, guiding principle should be, it runs on the town network. There is no reason why a financial system should be within a department of its own. That's a town-wide application. It needs to run on Carlisle One network on that yellow fiber within the blue, which I showed you. But if there are things that are specific, like I showed you, like the radio system, that really needs to be separate, and there's a good discussion, so be it. So we satisfy everybody, and we are harmonious. Now, and some of these things are things I told you, but I just want to focus on the last thing. I told Tim and Nathan I was going to focus on this as a startup. When I did my startups, I would think about it in terms of dollars and hundreds of dollars, not thousands, tens of thousands and millions of dollars. I can tell you, yes, we leveraged what was there, but I negotiated every vendor on every aspect, because to me, I'm a steward of this town and every penny counts. Another thing that we noticed when we started this project was, yeah, documentation. Where's the documentation? Oh, people have it. I don't know where it is. Just simply to state that with respect to Carlisle One network, all the documentation is on the document repository, which is stored and which is preserved properly and securely by Scott. Anytime anyone wants to see anything important that has to do with this project, it's there. Not the 500 plus emails that I have. I'm not putting that there. That's not useful. And this is a piece of art that I got from the Tate Gallery in London. It's modern art, but actually what it is a fiber art. This side shows the vast amount of cable we have in the public safety side. This piece here. This piece is the municipal. And this little gadget here is how we brought the public safety and the municipal together. And now we have effectively, if you want to think about it, one fiber run in town with multiple strands that can be used by various entities as and when their demands are appropriate. So that's also in place. So if you want to debug things, yes, we can do that. Now, I must say that not everything is hunky-dory. There are things that we have to be careful about, because as I said, in some places the security is not enough. You know, it's sitting in a basement room next to the cleaning fluid liquids. I don't like that, but we have to evolve to the better situation as a town. And then there's one place in the center of town where if something gets whacked, maybe the whole town gets whacked. But those are things that we can improve on. You know, it happened in the past, we don't improve on it. We find ways around it and do what is right. Up to now, I talked about Carlisle One as a network layer, but as I said, and I have said in many of my memos, it's the basis for our digital infrastructure, way into the 21st century. And here's a picture. This, ladies and gentlemen, is what's called the full stack architecture within digital. Okay, here is what we have. This picture has multiple versions, but most of it is relatively similar. What it's basically saying is, since we have one unified architecture at the bottom, we can on that host a variety of other functionalities at various levels. So I got this layer. I don't have to have all of these in place before I get my phones. I can just go to phones. But if I want to have it with much more security, maybe I'll do something here. If I want to have an approach to phones which uses just in-house phones on a private cloud, I can have that. If I want to have it on a public cloud, I can have that. If I want to have it on a hybrid cloud, which integrates both in-house private cloud and public cloud, I can have that. If I want increased mobile infrastructure support, I can get that functionality as well. So this thing, ladies and gentlemen, is your roadmap. And don't let any consultant come and tell us that we've got to build and spend another $100,000 just to understand this. We started with this, we went into detail on this, and that's how we built out this practical thing which is so useful for the town. So thinking ahead, few questions which can be applied to anything in town, but does asset have value? Yes, I believe it does. Does it need to be protected? Yes, I do believe it needs to be protected. And I'll share why I think so. Does it have potential to increase in value? Tremendously. So the question comes down to, what are the best ways that we can all collectively, I'm talking about departments, I'm talking about the select board, I'm talking about FinCom, I'm talking about name whatever committee you wish to have. Yes, we can do things together. We can have a collective mind where we don't talk against each other, but talk together to understand what that mission is and how this all fits together. Because digital doesn't stay alone. Digital is just a foundation, but it's reflective of our organizational structures. What I think, we need to have somebody responsible, some entity, not somebody, some entity responsible for thinking about digital, thinking about what the roadmap is, what we need to do so that it is continuous. Right now, we have something that's a little bit of a fits and starts. You know, if we did the network now, do we have the money? Oh no, we don't have the money. Why? Because we didn't plan for this thing on a long-term basis. Digital is not something that can be thought about in fits and starts. It's a long-term journey, and we need a roadmap, a plan, and approval at town meeting or whatever organizational structure we work with to make sure that we have the funding to go from one thing to another, because digital doesn't wait for the town. It just leaves us behind if we do not move with it, with the changes outside. And we can get unadulterated information, because we can now look at information about finances across town. We can cut, slice, dice, do whatever we want, and get away from other forms of decision making which have been part of the town. I call it a little bit of the chicken little decision making process. Here's a very important thing, in which people could ask me. I'm very concerned about the deconstruction of Carlisle. It is very real. Why? Because we today, based on our legacy, are working on what I consider to be a siloed operating model. Think IBM mainframe. Departments that want to work by themselves and they operate by themselves, they are completely independent to some extent, but they also work together at times, but not in a way that is very fluid. Okay, we just dragged ourselves to make what we need happen. So we need to be sure that we have the right things to protect this asset and the right structures. And we need to think about it in a way that says, maybe the constructs we had in the past were useful and good, but the world is moving and we need to move with the world. And whatever entity is in place, the departments need to feel that their needs and their concerns are being addressed. They need to feel that they're true friends, and the center needs to have the same kind of feeling about the entity that represents them. Somehow I think of Bill Russo every time I think of this. He's universally accepted, and he's a perfect example of how our culture should evolve. And this is more about what I said. We need somebody, some entity to protect the digital systems, department or whatever. And we need to think first of the residents and then of the town committees, entities, and all of that other stuff. We are here first to serve the residents. This is a long slide, but I would refer you to two things. And a digital enterprise is flexible enough to embrace continuous change. We are in a world of continuous change. We can't move in fits and starts to keep changing. We need to be able to move with the tides that are around us, while putting customers at the center of whatever it does, which is our residents. So now I just want to step back and I want to really give you my view of what I think is going on and what the challenge for this town really is. the town, you see here things that are looking like IBM frames, and it is the sort of siloed computer operation that was in the 1950s and 60s. Each of these things was by itself, and it served its purpose. I think of this school in this town maybe 100 years ago, where kids came to school on horse and buggy. And the school was beautiful. It did its own thing. Similarly, the police department, similarly, the fire department. Everything was good and harmonious. And it could have been like that if the world didn't change, but the world changed. And so we are kind of operating in this world. And Carlisle 1 is the first step to establishing the foundation for us to operate in this world in the way it should be, not by sticking chewing gum and tape between things, but by having a harmonious environment, a foundation where everything can operate together well. So you can see here that this single network, this is an icon I picked up for free from the internet. It doesn't have phones, but it can have phones, it can have video, but you see the desktops here, you see the servers here, and the phones all connected here on the same kind of model and going out to the world and back as we need it. And so then people would say, yeah, that's true. And this is a model I was thinking about for some good amount of time when something else came along, which is this little thing or this big thing called a cloud. And the computer companies are dragging our architectures forward at a rapid pace. And the issue is that there's a direct correlation. I repeat, a direct correlation between the nature of the computer architectures in an organization and the organizational structures about it. These are not sort of random stuff. The computer architectures move first and fast because they don't have people in them. It's real in terms of people who operate in this model. When we ask them to move to this model, it's very personal. We cannot deny that. So, is the world moving this way? Yes. And now, when the cloud comes along, people are going to say, oh, all my data is going to be on the cloud. But it's not necessarily so, because there is another little cloud. You store what you want on your private cloud with the right securities, and you relegate what you think is not so critical information about the town, but which is common capability to the public cloud. And we are talking about regionalization, or we are hearing rumblings about that. And that's what this is, just reflective of the same architectures that we have in the computer world now being manifested in the organizational environment that it's under. So what is the challenge we have and what are we really facing? Here's the good money that the residents of the town provide us. The question now at hand is, are we going to pour money to pour concrete into this? Or are we going to thoughtfully and wisely move our resources to build out here? The more concrete we pour here, the harder it is for us to get out of this, to move in this direction. It'll be really difficult. So the question at hand is, how do we think collectively? Yes, it may be painful, but a lot of it is an unknown. And I think in reality, it'll be less painful than moving from here to here. But it must be thoughtful, it must be sensitive. And we must think about whether the choice is ours actually. Are we going to fight change? Are we going to shovel the ocean with a bucket? Or are we going to get on a catamaran, high-speed catamaran, and skim the waves of the ocean, letting the winds in our sails direct us into the future? Thank you.
Thank you, RJ. That was plenty to absorb. Anybody have questions?
Could you say it all over again, RJ?
Yeah. RJ, I think one of the questions that I have, there are two aspects to the town coming together to take advantage. One is, of course, the hardware, the network, the ability to communicate across not only departments, but platforms and people. And the other is the organizational components of how the town is organized to take advantage of that networking capability. And I'm thinking we're probably at a good point. One of the things that we're doing right now, of course, we've just established the governance task force, which is going to look at how the town is organized. And of course, the existence of this significantly improved network that you guys have put together for us is going to make that an awful lot easier, I think. And the other thing is, of course, we're hiring an IT manager, which will, to some degree at least, I think, augment the work that Scott does on the school side with a counterpart on the municipal side to begin to coordinate those two efforts. And again, they're complementary. They're not competitive. And so I think the existence of the network, the way you've put it all together, is going to make that extremely much easier for us.
Is there a question you're asking me, or make
No.
a comment?
No, it's not a question. It's really, I mean, I'm trying to put it in a perspective. I think
Thank you.
because I think
Yeah.
there are two components to what you're trying to accomplish in large. One is the hardware side, which you've kind of laid the foundation for that already. And the other is, again, the organizational and philosophical side, the ability of the town to operate as a town using the infrastructure that now exists.
Yes. And
And I think we're beginning to set up to do that.
yes, I would say that the digital, I just call it the digital thing, because it's the network plus, right? All of those layers that I showed you, the full stack, facilitates change. One of the wonderful things about digital is that, as in that statement I made, it's flexible to make change quickly. But that's one aspect. Then there's a people side of it. And I think, just my view, it starts from the vision and the mission. In my mind, these are not abstract concepts. They are very real. And if we start from there, I think we will have a good way to flow down into where we want to go.
Okay. Other questions and comments?
RJ, I'm wondering what sort of advice or suggestions you would have, excuse me, about particular, capabilities or experiences we should be looking for in the IT manager position, for the IT manager position. I mean, I just broadly, I because I understand that what you're describing, may require additional expertise, but rather than hiring an IT manager who
Right. I think there are a set of broad characteristics. I've described it somewhere, but let me think over it. Let me say that first of all, the person needs to understand the big picture.
Yeah.
Okay. But yet needs, let me put it this way. It's somebody who he or she can go from the 100,000-foot level down to the 100-foot level, if you know what I mean. Understand organizationally and align deeply in terms of organizational direction, and then understand what it takes to put the digital assets that are required to support that organizational direction, and then is also quite hands-on to take it on and do it. Okay, now this is a hard kind of entity to find. Okay, I'll be honest with you. So I think that's what we need. I think we should be slow in going to hire this person. That's my advice. Slow in the sense of not taking years, but very thoughtful, because we need to think about what all this regionalization is telling us and how we can harmonize with that, because that's going to happen. Now, if we go build our own IT department, God forbid, see, the problem is we build something that stands on its own. Every time there's a change from the state or anywhere, we are spending that money ourselves. If we harmonize it with other towns, we just share those changes. So it's not the upfront cost alone. So I would recommend that we think hard about it. And I'll tell you something. I already started talking to Concord IT. I just not about organizing things or anything like that, but just to understand what are they doing, you know, what can we learn from them, what opportunities are there. I'm just having a discussion with them, and if anything, I'll just bring that back to you and say this is what I learned. Okay, so I'm just saying, this is just my opinion, and it's only my opinion. Just let's be a little slow at this point in moving forward too quickly.
Other discussion? If not, thank you very much, RJ.
Thank you.
And on behalf of the town, let me thank you for all the work that's gone. I know you've been working on this a long time, a couple of years at least. And I mean,
Thank my guys.
just the pictures
Scott
of the Gordian knot to the orderly transition is a major step forward, and we do appreciate that. And we hope you will continue to provide your expertise to the town.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Thank you, RJ.
Thank you, RJ.
Yep.
Thank you.
RJ.
Okay. Fiscal 22 annual appointments. I'd like to get a motion to approve the list of annual appointments as presented in the agenda.
Hang on.
Essentially, what we're doing is appointing the officials of the town, both town employees and boards and committees that currently exist. You're muted, Kate.
I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the list of annual appointments effective July 1st, 2021 as presented.
Okay. Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Discussion.
I thought we were going to discuss some of these boards and committees this year,
I agree.
and mainly MFC. I think that's
Well, not just.
no, but that's one I remember specifically from last year, right? I mean, I think a lot of these are are kind of rubber stamp types, right? But yeah, there were a few that I thought we wanted to pull out specifically this year.
Are we talking about the town boards and committees? Or are we talking about the public officials?
We're talking about both.
Both, yeah.
Okay.
So I think I would like to withdraw my motion and then we talk about it. We do it differently then.
Yeah,
Right.
I didn't realize we were doing all the town boards and committees too.
I didn't either.
Many of them expire on July 1st. So if you
The appointments.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, the town officials should be reappointed.
Maybe we
Why
could
don't we do that?
we separate them?
Yeah.
sure.
So I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the list of public officials as presented.
Okay.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Discussion. Hearing none. Roll call vote.
Oh, well, wait a second.
Oh,
No,
ahead.
because Larry's no longer the dog officer, right?
No.
He's no longer one.
Oh, that's right. That's been, okay, so that's an edit to the list.
Do we only have one then?
No, we have a second. I forget what his name is.
Yeah, Matt Svatek.
Yeah, Matt's definitely doing it.
Matt's wanted Gene Delano is
That's
the
it. Yeah, Gene.
new one. Yep,
And
just
then
hold
also,
off on that one.
is Larry still the inspector of animals?
Yes, he is. He
Yeah.
and Gene are the animal inspectors.
Oh, so no
As
longer
well.
Jim Toher?
Yeah,
Right, correct. Yep.
is Deb still, I used to, as a field driver, I used to always
Field
call her the
driver.
horse driver. Yeah, is she still, yeah. She was always the one that when I had issues with my neighbors and the horses running up and down the street.
Yeah, and yeah, Robert Koenig is still the clock keeper and Tom Ratcliffe still the town flag.
Yep.
Yep.
And Tim is the procurement officer and personnel administrator. And the ADA task force. Okay. I'm just quickly looking up the rest of them. So I will amend that motion again to move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the list of annual appointments effective July 2021 with the correction of dog control officer is not Larry Sorley, but is, and would you remind me the name?
Jean Delano.
Jean Delano.
Okay,
Second?
we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
What makes a constable versus a police officer?
Constables are primarily process servers.
Okay. Do they have some special training or stipending or something like that?
I don't know. Tim, do you know that? I mean, they're
The ones with that work with the courts, I don't know what their fee structure is, but that's, an active paying position.
Yeah.
Our constables, Chief Fisher and Sergeant Barnes, they really just post legal notices, town warrants and election warrants, things like that. But there are a few people that do it for a living that are also on the list.
The guy that gave me mine.
Okay,
He knows, he
All right.
does.
so Fisher and Crow are not on, or obviously have other jobs, but are Barnes and Topol, that's what they do? for a
well,
living?
Fisher, Barnes, and Crow are all police officers in
Yeah,
town.
Topol does it for a living.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah.
At lots of towns, I guess, right? I don't think you could make a living on serving people in Carlisle.
Not doing much in Carlisle.
Oh,
All right,
20 bucks. a
okay,
week.
that's all. I just had a question. Thank you very
Okay.
much. Oh, and Pris, I mean, is Pris staying on beyond July 1?
Yes.
yes, yeah, she's staying on till the
Till
fall.
September. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank
All
you.
right, we've got a motion and a second. No further discussion. We'll have a roll call vote.
Arnold, I.
Oscar Little, I.
Louis, I.
Modell, I.
Reed, I.
Thank you. Okay, and you want to defer town boards and committees, is that correct?
Well, I don't know if we necessarily need to defer all of them, right? I mean, we can probably get some of them.
Well, are we just
Or do we want to
voting on the people whose terms, like the ones in bold on the list, or those that we need to renew for 3
Yes.
years?
Correct.
I mean, the one at the top of the list, affordable housing, I think we're gonna sort of.
That gets
recast
redone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know about the other ones. Some of them look like they all are one-year appointments, huh? Like,
So a lot of annual appointments, correct.
Yeah, and have we also, because like for the AgCom, right? I know, didn't Peter send a thing that he was resigning? So that'll be a vacant position.
Well,
But even
there's
though,
a-
I mean, he's not re-upping, right? But
and Desiree Ball and Meredith Pierce are also not re-upping.
right. Yeah,
So
Desiree's
we've got a
re-upping.
real problem with the AgCom.
Yeah,
But should we just reappoint the people like John Lee, whose term,
Yep.
is it in bold because it is expiring?
No, because a lot of people in Boulder don't expire till 22 or further beyond that.
All right, so
Or
no, but they're the folks that, so
that's what their new
that, yeah,
term would
right.
do.
Exactly, yeah, because the term is, so it's a 3-year term. So John, he would now expire 2024, right? And then for like CPC, I would now expire 2024. But like the trust, it's 2022 because it's only a 1 year, right? But obviously, yeah, the trust is a completely different beast. But
so what you're saying, Luke, is like for the CPC, everybody there needs to be reappointed, but some of them are reappointed for 1-year terms and some are 2 and some are 3.
No, the reason that, so the ones that are bolded are the ones that need to be reappointed.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other ones are still serving out the remainder of their 3-year term.
Exactly.
right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So that's when their term would expire. It's bolded because that's when, if you're reappointed, that's when your new reappointment would expire.
So, right.
Okay.
But
So,
like, there's some inconsistencies though. If you look at long-term caps, I mean, the 2021s have been replaced by 2024.
Well, there is no more long-term caps.
Okay, so that, I don't know why that's even there. And then
That should
you've
not
got
be
some
there.
other, above that, you got land stewardship 2021. I don't even know why that's saying 2021. And you got somewhere down here, we've got the where is it? Recycling, household recycling has no members, nobody.
Yeah.
right?
Why don't
We
we,
need to fix it. Let's just fix it.
I mean, there's a lot of fixing needs to be
Yeah.
done in here. And I think we probably should defer this till the next meeting and get this worked out before that.
Yeah.
Just exactly what we're doing here.
Right.
just one quick thing, Alan, is, where did I just see it? The elections, where did I just see Board of Registrars. Do we need to do anything for the town election, which is on the 22nd? Do these people don't expire until the end of June? Is that the?
Yeah, those are for the national
So they're okay.
elections because they're the Democratic, I mean, they're for registering people.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure they were okay through the end
That's
of
a
the.
good question. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we have another meeting before the end of the fiscal year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I
but not before the 22nd.
was thinking about the town elections, but there's
Oh.
not.
No, that's not important for that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
and actually, since the 22nd came up, can we have a meeting on
We're-
election day?
The,
We think so.
Okay.
I've asked town council to let us know one way or the other. He has not
Yeah,
gotten back to
yeah.
us yet.
I did hear from council late
Oh, you did?
this afternoon, Alan. And council says there's no prohibition to the board meeting on election day. He says it's kind of a best practice not to, because you could technically be drawing people away from one or the other and competing. So it's not recommended, but there's no prohibition to do that. However, the state of emergency still exists. It has not been extended legislatively as the governor has asked for. So the state of emergency ends on the 15th. So all meetings after the 15th need to be in person unless it changes. So the 22nd, we could not meet in the clock room if we had to have an in-person meeting because of the
Right.
election.
You're saying 15th of June?
15th, the state
Yeah,
of
that's when the state of
ends.
emergency expires.
Yeah,
And so you can't have Zoom meetings anymore?
they're talking of extending it to September. There's a lot of interest in doing that. The governor's supporting it. And there may actually be legislation by next week, but currently, yeah, we'd have to meet in person.
Wow. Wow.
But we could pick a different day,
Yeah, certainly, yep.
pick the 23rd.
yeah, is there any reason we couldn't meet the following night? Maybe there are probably other things scheduled in town, but.
I can check into that. There's no reason that I know of.
Yeah, let's check into that.
Or what about the Monday? Right? Because technically, Alan, you'll be gone on the 23rd.
That's
Right, so any
correct.
last minute things you want to push through, you won't be able to.
That's why I suggested it.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be good to have this board meet at least once more,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe the 21st or even next.
21st, we could do the 21st.
Yeah, that would be what, the Monday?
Yeah.
Right.
Dave, you're muted.
Sorry. So would that mean then that the new board would not convene until the July meeting, right?
That's right.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
So are we deciding to move this? I'd like to move it in my calendar now. I have another meeting on the 21st, but it's at 5.
I guess you
so
gotta check room availability.
Right. I can find that out for tomorrow for you. we could pencil it in for the Monday, the 21st, and
Yeah,
One would think everything would be available.
yeah.
Well, will that mess Peggy up in terms of setting up the Clark
Oh.
room, or they just do it the morning of the 22nd?
Well, they'll be pretty much set up. I know in the past, the planning board has sort of met with the booths, the election booths set up around them.
Okay.
Yeah, they're gonna be set up, they're gonna be set up for early voting anyway.
Yeah.
Oh,
Is
that's
this
right.
to manage the throngs of voters who flock to the
Right.
polls?
Right.
Well, actually, there were quite a few last time who did vote on election day.
Yeah.
and so, well, Luke, you're the one that brought up, that there's some committees you want to discuss. You have a list of them? What sort of things are we
Well,
discussing?
Hang on one second, Kate. Have we concluded that assuming there's space available, we're going to meet on the 21st?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, great. Thank you. Sorry, Kate, go ahead.
No, that's okay. I'm just trying to, understand what we're doing and when we're doing it and how we're doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, some of these committees clearly don't even exist anymore. So I mean, I think we certainly, that needs to be updated.
Right.
Are you
Yeah,
mentioning-
no, so, I mean, one specifically that we discussed last year was municipal facilities. Figuring out if that's working, if it's not, and maybe changing some of the structure of that. I mean, that's the one that sticks out in my mind.
Yeah.
Um,
Of course, we're also trying to get, I don't know where we are, Tim, or where you are, with a whole different, not so much the committee, but a whole different structure in how we would maintain our facilities with, between the school and the town. So, I'm a little concerned about which comes first, the chicken or the egg. I hate to change something and then have to change it again.
Yeah, I continue to meet with Jim O'Shea. I don't think we've got a proposal quite yet, but I don't think it would impact whether or not the committee is reappointed or not, but.
And also, were these people that are in bolded,
yeah,
were they polled to see if they wanted to re-up?
They were.
They
to
were,
my
okay,
knowledge,
so,
Yep.
so, and I guess the question is it just because somebody wants to re-up, do they automatically get reappointed?
They don't, nobody gets automatically reappointed.
Okay, well, I'm asking these questions for
Yeah,
all of these,
they get appointed if we appoint them. Yeah.
right?
We have a rigorous selection process, Kate. It starts with a pulse.
But that's true, but I still feel that it's really important to be looking for new people as much as possible. So whenever there are new, or some terms that are, going to expire, I'd like to know if we have some sort of a policy and if we have any kind of mechanisms besides, to be looking for.
Which committee are you
Well,
talking?
not in the
generally,
next
or
2 weeks, we don't, Kate.
Yeah, no, that's true, but
Everybody
again,
who's on there is good through the end of June or only through elections?
Through the end of June.
Okay, we're okay. I mean, I take it from the list, I mean, there were a few open ones, but by and large, all the committees have people who have expressed a willingness to re-up, right?
Well, no, I know that that's not true on some of these.
Yep.
So I think that is one thing that we should, I don't know, Tim, what the process is for that. What do? Do you write to the chair of the committee and say, can you confirm that everybody wants to be reappointed?
Yeah, Jen contacts every committee, and I think the members individually to ask them if they wish to be reappointed. And if someone wishes to be reappointed, they show up on the list as a bolded you know.
Right, so, all right, so let's
Yeah.
go with that, Tim.
Well,
Everybody
yeah.
who's,
Okay, I just, like on the Energy Task Force, I know just because there was a meeting last night that a couple of the folks that are listed on here are not planning, have indicated they don't
Yeah.
want to be appointed.
Yeah, I think the Energy Task Force, Conscom, and CPC, I think are three committees that did not respond to requests for information. So that may be why those are not
I
accurate.
did get the email though, yes.
Okay,
I didn't
So-
respond to Ginger.
okay, so I guess I know this is maybe the way we always did it before, but I would like to say that if they didn't respond, I think those names should be removed and not bolded, so that we really kind of know where we stand on all of these.
So we'll need to know before the next meeting who those
Right.
people
Yeah.
are.
yeah, I mean, reach out and get a yes or a no, exactly.
Yeah.
And then,
if-
you know, if a committee, I mean, I would say if a committee finds itself short of members or people willing to re-enlist, then the chair, I guess the current chair should go try to recruit some people. I mean, let's give them some homework.
Yeah.
Right, I agree with the piece, you know, Kate's point about new blood, but you can't do that in a vacuum. I mean, somebody's got to help you.
Yeah, okay.
And then what's going on with household recycling? Because it's got no
Well,
names.
no, I think it's just that you've, look at the page, everything is self-contained on one page. So if you go to the
Oh.
top of the second column on that page.
Oh, okay, I see.
that's where
Okay.
they show up.
So, you know, we have Word. I mean, can't we do this in like a way that we can read it? I mean, it just, you know, just seems like kind of 1980s style here. So anyway, all right. So it sounds like the homework is, Tim, you and Jen have to kind of vet this list and get us a good list.
Yes, yeah, we'll scrub it.
And-
Yep.
Okay.
And if people don't want to re-up and there's vacancies, we should identify those and get working that too.
And Tim, and let me just ask about the personnel board. Is this, do I take it from this that have they all been asked and have all indicated they want to continue? Because I just say that
I'm on,
that's a board that we know has had some difficulty meeting, and have you had direct conversation, or has Vanessa Brown checked in with you about the other members?
I believe that they all checked in with Jen. I'll confirm that. I
Okay,
know at one point Vanessa was thinking of stepping down, but I think that's not the case any longer, but
okay,
I'll confirm that.
So we're going to leave this that the bolded people will be, if they have not already confirmed that they want to be reappointed, that we will find out who does and who doesn't and vote on it at the next meeting. Okay?
Mhm.
Good. All right. In the meantime, we've reappointed the town officials, so we can continue to function. All right.
Well, I just have one other question, and I'm sorry to drag it out, but let's say we did want to talk about the Municipal Facilities Committee and how they've structured, or whatever. I worry about not reappointing. Well, what are we going to do with that committee until the, if we did not reappoint, there's some people that are still appointed, so the committee's still a committee, there's members on the committee until 2023. I mean, I guess I find it a little awkward.
I mean, there's three things going on, Kate, right? So one is block and tackling continues, right? So I don't know, MFC in particular, but committees have work to do. And
Yeah.
mostly the people who are on it know what to do. So if we reappoint, they continue to do what they got to do.
Right.
Two is we've just appointed a governance task force and it's got a year to sort life out.
Yep.
And it's going to come out with recommendations. And, there's no reason why they can't extend those to boards and committees. I think they will be doing that. So, even if they're people who have appointments, if after all this works out, there's changes to those committee structures, then we'll deal with that at that point. And three is everybody on that list effectively reports to us, right? So is there any reason why we can't, reappoint them and then right at the beginning of the year or, the beginning of not the calendar year, but in the fall, say, ask that they come and sort of present their mission and what they want to work on and, do it like a regular kind of oversight situation. And that's what I would do.
I think Luke needs to respond because he's.
Yeah, I mean, we've been kicking this can down the road for a couple of years now. There are people on that committee that don't get along with, certain departments in town, and you can't have that disconnect between committees and departments. You just can't.
But you don't adjudicate that by not
Yeah, that's exactly what you do. You have a
Right.
discussion. I mean, it's our committee, right? And if
it is our committee. All right. So
right, if there are individuals that, make it difficult, then we need to determine how we work through that. And that's not saying we don't reappoint the person or people, right? But, I mean, we have a tendency to just kick it down the road and then let everybody else deal with it.
Right.
I mean,
Well,
that's
then
fine.
I would say, but I mean, it's going to be difficult if you're chair. Are you talking about MFC in particular, right?
Well, yeah, but I mean, any of the ones that,
Okay, but
but MFC in particular, we discussed last year. Yeah.
right. But the point is the chair is up for reappointment. If you don't have the chair, you're going to have a difficult time getting in my opinion, getting a meaningful.
Yeah, I mean,
dialogue.
I don't necessarily think anybody has an issue with Jerry, but the thing is too, is, I mean, we're losing our chair, I mean,
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't,
but-
the chair,
but the-
you
But the
should have a
time to do
committee.
that is when we go to appoint the committees.
Well, I don't know. Okay, if you're ready, Alan, if you're ready, yes, but if you're not ready, no. So I would say, again, I'm a process oriented guy. I would say that we can't sort of do this midstream. I mean, we can hold on new appointments and just live with the people whose appointments have not expired and challenge them. But either way, I think what we need to do is we need to get these boards on a calendar and say, okay, first meeting in September, MFC, you're coming up. Second meeting, Personnel Board, you're coming up, and whatever it is, here's what we want. We want like a 3-slide, not RJ style, right? We want a 3-slide. Here's what I've done. Here's what I want to do, blah, 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 and let's have a conversation and decide if that's what we want to do. Like, let's organize it like we're the select board. We
Yeah, but
haven't
we
done
also-
that. So to come in midstream and say, well, we don't like this guy, we don't
Well-
like that guy, I don't think that's a good process.
Well, no, but it's not midstream. I mean, this is the time of year that we're supposed to do it, but.
Right, then
then
do
we-
it now.
then-
I don't
then-
care if we,
then
I
should
don't,
have been-
honestly, Luke, I don't care if we do it in July, but we're
Yeah,
not
well,
gonna
then
get
we-
it done
then we
before
need-
the appointments.
Yeah, then I think we need to start having these conversations and we need to get feedback from the departments and, I mean,
Right, so
especially the
let's-
ones that interact
Yeah.
specifically, right? I mean, I think it's too important not to.
I'm okay with that.
Absolutely, but I don't, that is a thing in addition to making appointments and resignations. And I mean,
Well,
if
or
you want
just-
to go but committee by committee and say, what are you doing? How are you doing it? That sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's something separate from making appointments to the committee.
Well,
If you
except,
have
I
if
mean,
you have a problem with somebody being on a committee, then with the time we go to appoint them, you need to say that. And we debate whether they get appointed or not.
Okay, fine.
I
Yeah,
think that's a
mean,
much more straightforward way of doing business.
okay, well, do you want me to say, okay, fine. A lot of departments have an issue with, and he's on the call tonight, John Lave.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it's something that we need to address. I mean, I'm too far removed from the committee to fully understand what's going on. But I've heard from, people that I'm a liaison to. I've heard from people that I'm not a liaison to. And also too, I've heard about the stuff going on at the DPW, how that trailer situation
but
is.
wait, but
And
Luke, it's not fair to take one example and make that.
it's not one example. It's
No, I'm not saying that. What I want to say is let's be process oriented.
right.
There's really, I have to challenge Alan here. If we don't appoint by the end of June, it doesn't mean we can't appoint in July or August or September, right?
No, but
We
it
don't
means,
have to-
but it
there
means they
doesn't
won't
have
be
to
on the
be-
committee in the meantime.
Right, but there doesn't have to be continuous service. There just
True.
doesn't have to.
Right.
Yep.
So I think and my advice is let's not make it about any individual.
let's shelve all reappointments. Let's figure out when we want to hear from each board, at least the people who are still on it. Let's decide what we want to hear, which is, to me, what have you done? What do you plan to do? And who do you recommend be on the board? Like 3 things. Let's have 3 of them each meeting. I mean, we can get through them all in a few meetings. And let's say, okay, once we hear that, we'll either agree that you can, yes, you should appoint the people you want, or no, we think that's not right. And blah, blah. But we got to do it. Let's do it from top down. I just don't like this going at one thing at a time. It just doesn't seem like.
Well, it's more so the ones that interact with town departments. I mean, like the conservation.
You say, but I would say, no,
But-
I'd say, what are you doing? What committee? What are you
Oh, yeah,
doing?
no, and
Why do
that's-
we
And that's fine, but I mean, Trails Committee, Conservation Commission, I mean, like
let
there's
them
certain
come
ones
in and
that.
say, we cleared 3 miles of trails, we chopped these trees, we want
Oh,
this.
yeah, yeah.
It's
No,
a
we should
5-minute
definitely-
conversation, but at least there's a process that everybody goes through.
Yeah, no, I'm
All
fine.
right.
I,
So you don't want to put appointments on before the end of the fiscal year.
Not if we're gonna do it process-wise. I mean, if we're gonna do it process-wise, we should have, again, like all these things we do, we should have done it 2 months ago, but I understand. We have town meeting. Maybe we should move the whole appointments thing. I don't even know. Is it statutory that the appointments have to coincide with the fiscal year? Or is that something self-induced?
I don't know.
Well, No,
Like,
but certain
what-
things like the personnel board, for example, if we don't appoint people, then they don't have a quorum.
Why, but I'm asking a different question. Luke. Why is it that appointments coincide with,
Well, right now we have appointments expiring at the end of June.
so
Yeah, it's a
give them an
fiscal year.
interim.
If we don't appoint them, then they will not exist anymore.
Appoint them for 3 months. I mean, we're not challenging any norms here. We're like, just, oh, yeah.
I think Tim
Appoint-
wanted to say.
Appoint everybody for 3 months. We can
Worded
do
it
that tonight.
twice.
If, could I jump in for a minute, Mr.
Yeah,
Chairman?
please.
That when appointments are scheduled to expire, if the individual is not replaced on that board, they are considered a holdover appointment. So they're still on that board or committee until they're replaced.
Great. There you
even
go.
if they have resigned.
Well, if they've resigned, they've
No, you
resigned.
You
Right.
can't force, Barney.
No, I've been
You can't force them to serve.
because of the quorum question. So if 2 people resign from a committee that was 5 and now you're down to 3,
They all have to be there
they all
Every-
have to be, so it's.
every time. But a holdover is just as valid as someone whose term hasn't expired.
And that in fact is the way it works. I mean, that's legal.
Yes, it is.
If
Yes,
they're not reappointed, they continue on.
they do. I can
Okay.
get that from council. Yeah, but that's the case.
Oh, that's correct, because in COVID last year, you may remember, a bunch of us, myself included, stayed on whatever assignments we had because, there was no election.
Yep.
Right.
Okay.
So again, I rather see us, let's just take a breath. If we want to, we should review all these committees, what they're doing, what they need, who they want, and then decide if we're okay with their mission and who they want, then they can appoint who they want. If we're not okay with it, we should review it and decide something else.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. They
Okay.
serve at the pleasure of the select board.
All right.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is that I think we have a responsibility to ensure that committees operate well and in some sort of harmony. And if and I'm thinking about, I'm not talking about the MFC, there's another committee apparently where there's some dissension among the members, and a few want them as a result to step away because they can't take the conflict, when it might be better to have the one person who's creating the conflict not be appointed. And I think we just have to kind of take the bull by the horns and or give more support and training to, new members or to people to learn how to operate in town committees. I think there's,
Yeah, well,
have
that's
a
good.
number of
That's good
issues.
training anyway.
no, exactly, nobody gets any training.
Right.
So I think, there are certain things that we really have to take the bull by the horns and just, or, take the tiger by the tail and face the situation or whatever you want to.
You're mixing a lot of metaphors, Mrs.
That's
Davis.
why I'm doing it.
All right, so we will not reappoint boards and committees, with the understanding that people who are not reappointed, if they wish to, can continue to serve.
Yes.
And we'll go from there. And whenever the select board gets around to doing their review of boards, that will happen. Okay, thank you. Town administrators report.
The fun part of the job.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Actually, item 1, I'm not going to address during the meeting. I evidently jumped the gun a bit, and the principals involved wish for these discussions to be confidential at the moment
Oh,
and offline. So you can all read what I wrote, but I won't be discussing it at this meeting, and it'll probably be back at some future date. But it's good news, I think, but we don't want to.
I was all dressed up here. Tim.
yeah, okay. No.
All right,
So moving along, this year, actually, we only have one recommended scholarship award for the Caroline Hill Scholarship Fund. That's Isabella Parker of Bedford Road, who attends Villanova University. There were actually relatively few applications this year to the scholarship fund, and they're not sure what that was, if that was the uncertainty with COVID or people's plans, but they're recommending a single scholarship. So this is certainly less than the 10,000 that they usually distribute, so that they'll have some additional funds next year, hopefully to distribute to college students. But congratulations to Ms. Parker for that. Well, actually, you've got to vote on that. Now that I think of it, you've got that's the recommendation from the scholarship committee. So,
And has she been notified yet, or is this something that should just stay out of the mosquito temporarily?
Yeah, we have this discussion every year. About,
Yeah,
Yep.
well, 1 year, because I went and congratulated my neighbor, and she's like, "What are you talking about?" I was like,
yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah,
It's awkward.
I
it
believe
is, yeah.
the scholarship committee has been in touch with her.
If we approve it tonight, couldn't Alan or Tim tell her tomorrow before the mosquito?
We can make sure she's notified, certainly.
Yeah.
all right. I would accept the motion to award the Caroline Hill Scholarship to Isabella Parker.
So moved.
Second,
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote.
Arnold, I.
Oscar Lilloye.
Louis, I.
Reed, I.
Modell, I.
Thank you. Congratulations, Isabella.
Yes.
Right.
Nice, good.
Very good.
Okay.
And item 3, just to notify you that the first CARES Act has been extended to October, which gives us a few more months to straighten out the paperwork with that one. There's been a lot of going back and forth between CARES and FEMA, and I'm sure that Bill and Priscilla will be glad when that finally gets wrapped up this fall. Also, the new funding, the ARPA, as they call it, the American Rescue Plan Act. There are a couple of seminars later this week, some Zoom meetings to give more guidance on those programs. We actually found out in recent days that the Commonwealth wants communities to request the funds before they will distribute them. So you've got to ask nicely before they'll put you on the list for the fund. So we're working on that short application. There's actually a checkoff box on the application where you're asked to say we want the money, or we will revert it back to the Commonwealth. So you want to make sure you get that box
Click the right box.
Yeah.
check the right box on that one. But so that's upcoming. Got the list of possible meeting dates. I don't know what people's plans are this summer, but any of those dates don't look good for the future, let me know. We're going to try for June 21st. Also, I wanted to ask you, the Finance Committee is meeting Monday evening, and Priscilla is going to go over the list of year-end transfers with them. And it's required that both the select board and the finance committee vote on those transfers. So if the board were willing, we could meet jointly with the finance committee for about half an hour Monday evening and do those transfers in one fell swoop.
I mean, this coming Monday?
This coming Monday, the 14th,
Sure.
if you're available.
Yeah, that's okay with me.
It wouldn't take very
Yeah.
long, but then Priscilla wouldn't have to go to both meetings and
Yeah,
Yeah, that'll work.
So, Tim, on the summertime.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're moving the 22nd, probably will be the 21st is what we talked about, right? And then,
yes.
so we've got 4 meetings between July and August. And I guess a comment and a question. So the question is, do we need 4 meetings? And then the comment is, one of the meetings, I believe, again, should be this goal setting session where we really don't have a regular agenda. We really just think about what we want to do. And especially, we'll have a new member and all that. So,
Right. Normally you do not meet 4 times.
yeah. So 4 times is aggressive. And
Yes.
Yeah.
so should we be submitting our vacation plans to Jen and let her sort that out?
If you know them, even roughly, yes.
Yeah.
At this
And the
point.
other thing that I'd like to suggest on the discussion of goals is that if there's any way we, this existing board, could include a review of the goals we established last year as a group
Mhm.
before this group changes, I'd really like to do that. I think that would be really important for us to do and also helpful in then setting the goals for the new select board.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that would mean on the 21st of this month, we would
Okay.
add that to the agenda and
Yeah, that'd be okay.
we could
Sure.
produce the list of those goals, the final goals, and send those out to each of us to look at,
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Do you want us to, so they need to be submitted maybe to Jen by a certain date so she can
no,
consult?
it's the list,
Looking at the old,
The FY21,
yeah.
yeah.
review
Action items from the 25th of August, 2020, I think that's what it was called.
Right.
okay,
Right. I mean, I think it's a good idea. And I think you could just take that list and say everybody should comment on, what they felt we accomplished, what we didn't, what we could have done better, what we did well. I mean,
Yeah, I think we
you could
definitely need
just
to
do
spell
that.
it
It's a good
out.
idea.
Yeah, and didn't Mark Way do didn't we do a review with him? Was the August list you're referring to, Kate, is that the second go round or was
It's
that?
the second go round, because the first go round was, like we were gonna have a meeting before September something
Right,
and,
right,
but
okay,
a bunch of little things. This was bigger things. It was
Yeah,
the
all right.
land use reorganization, personnel policy,
Yep, okay.
Highland Committee, so bigger things.
that's the one we should all look at before the next meeting and be ready to discuss.
And if you can't find it, I've got mine
Oh,
here.
Jen
Yeah,
should
we'll send it out.
circulate it.
Yeah,
Send it to Jen and she can send it out.
Yeah.
And we
Okay,
need to make time in the agenda. So we should have, a good hour, I guess, to discuss.
okay.
Is there a
okay.
lot, Tim, is there a lot on the plate for 21st?
Well, you can see the list, there's a few things on there, but I don't know that they'll all materialize. I think the public hearing probably won't happen. We're having the FY20 audit report that evening. That's really, and meeting the new town accountant and appointing her if that's the board's pleasure. But nothing that would be as long as an hour. So I think we could fit the goals discussion in.
All right, good.
Yep.
All right.
And
So that's a good idea.
I know Alan and Tim, we had a little bit of discussion about the public facilities task force. Do you anticipate that we would be ready to appoint at least some portion, at least the people that we know have expressed interest
We could appoint people who've already expressed interest. We only have a few volunteers currently.
Yeah. So each of us, so we should be trying to recruit
Yep.
and have people send in letters of interest.
And I can send you all the letter to the editor that didn't get published in fall.
Yeah.
Yeah, would you do that?
Yep.
Give us our talking points and all
Right.
that.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
and thank you, Tim. Liaison reports. Anybody?
I don't remember going to a meeting.
I have just, well, a couple of little small things. I think you all know this, but anyway, the DPW, you know, Gary's reopened the swap shed. That happened last Thursday, so it's officially open now.
I was there today. Yeah.
Okay. And the transfer station task force is meeting again tomorrow morning, and I think we'll now be able to actually vote on things because I think everybody got sworn in, which we had failed to do for the first meeting 2 weeks ago, or last week. And so that group seems ready to go. And then I guess that's it for me.
I was going to say something, but now I forgot. Well,
Okay.
wait.
All righty.
Oh, I know. I wanted to remind everybody, Thursday, please attend the public outreach for the master plan. As many people as we can get
Actually,
there.
There's one on Thursday and one on Saturday,
Sunday,
Sunday. Yeah.
Sunday at 4, Thursday at
7:30.
7:30.
And those links are, you know, on the town website and they're on the master plan.
Right. And there's signs all over town.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you think so. Well, you know, it would really be great to, if people could think about folks, you know, that may not be the usual people that show up, say at, you know, a community discussion, just because this is really a great opportunity for people to participate in these small group breakout sessions around the draft goals. And it'd be good to hear from a broad cross section.
Do you know, Barney, are those intended to be discrete? I mean, separate, different people at each one?
Yes, well, the way the meeting is structured is that there's going to be about 50 minutes and everybody that's there will choose one of 4 breakout rooms to go to. And they'll come back, reconvene, and have the opportunity to choose a different breakout group discussing a different goal. And then finally, they'll do that again. So there'll be 3 opportunities to discuss different goals that are presented during the presentation.
Okay, so they're not expecting people to do both Thursday and Sunday.
No.
No,
It's,
Okay.
not at all.
Yep. All right. Good.
Yeah.
All righty. One last thing, acceptance of the warrants. Barney, you
Oh.
did a great job of signing them again. Thank you.
Long
Our
commute.
bills will get paid. I think that's all we have to do with that. It's just acknowledge that they've been
Yes.
signed. Yep. And I would accept, unless there's additional business, I'll accept motions for adjournment.
So moved.
oh, go ahead. A second.
All right, I've got a motion and a second. It's non-debatable. All the roll call vote.
Arnold, I.
Oh, wait, I do want to debate this.
Lewis, aye. It's not debatable.
Odell, aye.
Reed, aye.
Thank you very much.
Now
Hey,
you,
we're
now
10
you can
minutes early.
debate, Kate.
Good night.
Edit, bro.
Good night, everybody.